All right, so when you first open up Blender, if you want to do a drawing, you'd want to go File, New, 2D Animation, or you can select that from the opening splash screen. Either way, you should be at a screen that looks something like this. If we use the mouse, we can scroll in or out. If we accidentally press the scroll wheel on the mouse, we end up all over the place, you get lost. Just click the camera over here. Alternately, and then zoom back in. Alternately, of course, you can use the number pad, and on the number pad, you just hit 0. Not the number 0 up above the keys, but the number pad over on the far right-hand side of a regular keyboard, full-size keyboard. That would bring you to the same screen, or again, you could just hit the little camera over here, toggle the camera view, and that's it. Okay, so down here on the bottom left-hand side, you're going to see the keys that I'm pressing if all works as it should. For example, if I hit the Z key, you'll see the little Z appear down there. I'll hit it again. We don't need that for now. We'll just leave it as solid. So we're in draw mode, and if I start to draw something, there's a couple of problems here. First of all, if you look at the line, it's not smooth at all. And we can fix that by going up here to Stroke and selecting Stabilize Stroke. Now the stabilization, the defaults they give you are way too high. See how the mouse is quite a ways ahead of where that line terminates. We want to fix that up a little bit, and I'm going to make it not quite as smooth. I'm just going to drop this basically down to the minimums. And even that is a fair bit better. We're still a little bit ahead of the end of the line, but that's okay. I'm just going to Control Z to get rid of everything, and we're going to start all over again. And I'm happy with where this is now. I think this should probably work fairly well. One more problem though, I don't like that line being sort of shaded. I want it to be full strength, and I also don't like that if I press harder, it becomes actually deeper color. You can't see that with the mouse, but if I switch over to my tablet and start drawing, you can see it gets darker as I press harder. I'd like to remove that for now. I'm just going to click both of these. We're going to turn off the radius pressure, and we're also going to turn off the pressure strength. So now if I draw, it should just be, there we go, just a regular black line. Control Z again, I'm going to undo everything that I just drew, and we'll save those defaults. We should probably do that by setting up our default file. And so all we do is we go File, and we go down to Defaults, Save Startup File. Yeah, we're going to overwrite it. And that'll mean that every time we open up Blender, those defaults are going to be set. Our strength will be 1, the pressure radius is going to be turned off, etc., etc. Okay, so let's start drawing. And one more thing I'm going to actually do here, I'm going to just lift this up a little bit, and we're going to need one more layer. We've got 3 layers, and it's hard to understand what they're for right now, but I'm just going to go Sketch for this. So this is going to be our Sketch layer. And we can move that down if we wanted to. We could put that underneath our Lines layer, and we've also got a Fills layer. Make sure we have that selected. You just click over here to select it. Okay, you can see down the bottom here, if it's green, that means that layer is selected. That's going to become critically important. So make sure you remember which layer you're working on when. Now we can draw, look at this, it says Fills, but I can draw just fine. And so Blender won't give you a warning if you're drawing on that particular layer instead of using fills. But I'll try to remind you and just follow along so you understand how the different layers work. I'm going to start my sketch layer. And what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to draw a line or a box, I suppose. I'll just go like that. And that's going to represent the frame for my image. And just hit enter once we've drawn it, once we get about approximately the right size. And then I'm going to use my tablet, and I'm just going to write the letters. That's all I'm going to do here. I'm just going to put the letters. Oops, I've got box selected. Let's hit escape, and let's go back to pencil. There we go. That's better. Wow, you can see I put an extra part in the E. Let's erase that, actually. That's going to bother me. Click here on the eraser, and if you hover over top, look, it kind of erases like a real eraser. I want it to be point, and I'll just get rid of whatever I click on. All right, back to pencil. There we go. Now, the reason we did this, we don't have to do this, but I just want to have a rough outline of the size of my letters, and I also want to have a good idea of the left to right, the width, so that the width of the entire graffiti, I want to make sure that that stays within the confines of my area. Okay, the other thing I want to do, I think, is get rid of that box now. I'm going to click Erase, and I'm going to click on Stroke, and if I just hit it, look what happens. The whole thing disappears. That's kind of handy. Okay, we're going to go back to drawing. The box is gone. And in fact, you know what I can do on this layer, the sketch layer? I can even drop the opacity down. So if I draw over top of this now, it's hard to even see it. I could leave that for now. And I could start drawing my letters, but yeah, I'm going to drop that down. Let's do that. And I'm going to bring that right down. And now we're going to go to the lines layer. So this is our official drawing now. Time to begin. By the way, I might want to use Control Spacebar. And what that does is it allows me to go full screen so I can increase the actual drawing area on my tablet. I'll hit Control Spacebar again. It takes me back out. Make sure that wherever the mouse is, make sure it's in the 3D window, because if I have it down here, watch what happens. And that's obviously not what we want. So move the 3D cursor into the 3D window, or the cursor into the 3D window, and we're good to go. And I'm going to start drawing now. So once we get to this point, we want to actually fill those letters in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Control Spacebar, make sure we're on the right layer. We're on lines. That sketch layer, which we've dropped down to lower opacity, is kind of in the background, and that's fine. We can make that disappear easily. All we have to do is click the little eye here and it goes away. But we'll keep it there for now because it does give us a good frame of reference. Okay, Control Spacebar, we go back to full screen, and I'm going to start drawing my letters. Okay, well that's not too bad. It's not perfect, but that's okay. We're just trying to get something sort of put together fairly quickly here. And I could go in and clean these lines up. If I'm not happy with any of them, there's a couple things I could do. First of all, I can get the eraser going. And if I hold down the Shift and middle mouse, I can scroll right over and I can clean this up. I want to be careful. Oh, I don't want to get rid of the whole line. No, Control Z. I do have that select to stroke. I'm just going to put it on point and see if we can clean that up a bit. Now what I could do is go back to drawing here. And I could even probably just use the mouse to drag that across. And that's better. Still not perfect, but that's okay. We don't need this to be absolutely perfect for now. You can see that there's a bit of a gap down here. And I'm going to use the Shift middle mouse. We're just going to scroll in. I'm going to leave that gap. I'll maybe close it a little bit more, but let's leave that because that could potentially be a problem. But we'll talk about how to resolve that. So even if your image isn't perfect, it should still work. Okay, I'm just going to bring the layers back. And we can actually get rid of our sketch layer now. I'll just click the little I button and it's gone. Lots more things we could do here. Let's go to Control middle mouse again. And I'm just going to do a bit of an outline here. Okay, there we go. So there's a few more things we could do still. I'm going to just narrow down the drawing radius. I'll bring it down to maybe about 10, so about half the size that it is. So right now what we're using, and I'm going to just draw some little highlight sections here or selections. You see that didn't quite close properly. It's all right. Okay, if we want to clean those up, which we're probably going to need to, Shift middle mouse, let's scroll in a bit. Yeah, that looks terrible, so I'll just finish that off. Go. Let's get the eraser out. Clean that up a bit. There we go. Okay, that's pretty good. We'll leave it like that for now. I'm going to save it. Let's remember to do that. So Shift middle mouse. Let's bring it back to the middle. Zoom in a bit. Control S to save. I'm going to call this my 5th attempt. And save Blender file. And we've got it saved. Probably should have left a little more space. Let's do that. I'm going to go back. I'm going to hit the eraser, and I'm just going to get rid of a section here. We're going to fill this in later. Let's go back to pencil. You'll see why in a second. I'm going to draw the sun here. Oh, we lost our strength on that. Oh, I see why. Going to bring the radius back up to 20. Can't remember if it was 20 or 25, but let's bring it back up to 25. Yeah, that's too dark now. Set it to 20. Okay. I'm going to zoom in a bit here. Okay, that is far from perfect. We could use a perfect circle. We have a circle drawing tool over here, but I want this to be hand drawn. Okay, let's erase that, clean it up a little bit. It's not bad. Okay, by the way, there's some other tools that we can use as well. If we go from draw mode to sculpt mode, we can go, let's see, what's this one here? Push, okay, and we could actually push this out a little bit, change the radius, and we can kind of push this thing. Okay, that's too much. Push this in a little bit, and we could just kind of form this into a little bit better circle. And again, we don't want it to be perfect. Okay, let's go back into object mode. There's some other modes in here as well too. There's smooth mode, so if we wanted to just kind of smooth this circle a little bit in a few areas, that can be really handy. Okay, all right, let's go back into object mode. You can play around with the rest of them. They're all super useful tools. Oopsie, not object, we want to go to draw mode. Okay, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Actually, no, let's keep it zoomed in. And I'm going to just finish off these lines here, but I'm in the wrong mode. There we go. Now I could spend more time and fix these lines up. I could go back into sculpt mode, and normally I would do that, but just because I'm trying to do a quick demo here, we'll just keep going. You know, I'm going to clean a few things up here. Okay, that's not bad. Let's save it. Control S to save, and I think we're ready to go here. This is coming along nicely. Okay, we're going to draw some lines on here, and so I'll just go back here, and they're not going to be perfect, but those lines are going to represent rays from the sun. Okay, save again, Control S. And the last thing we're going to do is I'm going to draw inside the letters kind of a mountain scene, and you'll see how this all comes together in a few minutes. So I'm just going to draw some lines here. I think we're done. So if we're done, if that's it, the last thing to do is to go to the fills section, and I would just click on the fills layer. And we do have to make one significant change. I'm going to go Control Space, so we go full screen, Shift, middle mouse. Just to pull it back to full screen. And we have to now go Bucket Fill. We have to go from Solid Stroke to Solid Fill. And then we got to select our color. But if we try to fill something, it's gray, and it looks like we've got green selected here. The problem is, let's just undo that first. The problem is, and I'm going to save again, Control S. We need to click right here and set it to paint mode. And now it's going to be that bright green, which we don't, particularly want. I think if I hit the Z key and we go to Material Preview, we'll get the right colors. Okay, I'm going to undo that though, because I don't actually want green in there. And one more issue that we're going to see here. Let's find where there's a gap. Okay, see there's a gap right here. If I click this one, look what happens. It fills a bunch of them. And I don't want that to happen. I also don't want that to be green, but that's besides the point. Oh, and I can see a line that I didn't finish. No, never mind. The lines are good. I think those lines are all good, yeah. Because this line here, the letters represent something different. We'll see that in a few minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Advanced, and we're going to go Gap Closure. We're going to set this to maybe 0.5, and you'll see what happens here. This is pretty amazing. If I click once, we get these little lines that appear. See that? Anywhere where there's a gap, it'll set it to 0.5 of whatever that setting is. And now when I fill it in, it works perfectly. We can increase that or decrease that. Oh, I have it set to 0.4. Anyway, you can increase or decrease the closure size based on how accurate your drawing is. So if I try, let's see, this one here, there's a pretty good size gap, and it works. Okay, oh, you see it didn't quite work here, and that's because this one is angled in. Let's undo that, and let's just increase it slightly. I'm going to go to 0.5, and now try it, and it still doesn't work, okay? So probably I'd do one of two things. I'd probably go back and fix that. The problem, why don't we just keep increasing the size of these? Well, what'll happen though is we'll end up getting gaps where we don't want gaps in the actual fills themselves. So I'd like to keep that at 0.5. And I'm just going to go back. Remember to do this. If you want to make edits to your drawing, you've got to go back to the lines layer. That's critical. Okay, so I've gone back to my lines layer, shift middle mouse, and I've got to close this gap. easiest way to do that, make sure that you select solid stroke, okay? And we also need to set this to black. We can just click right here. And now we can just go like that. Okay, that was terrible. Let's try that one again. There we go. Okay, that should be all it takes. We might find some other gaps as time goes. That's okay, we can fix those when we get there. This one here looks kind of bad too. I'll just maybe do a quick little edit on that. No, it didn't work. That's all right. Okay, so we're gonna go back to our fills. I'm gonna select the fills layer, click on it down here. I'm gonna go up here, go full screen, shift middle mouse, zoom in a little bit, okay? And then we're gonna start filling. Now what I wanna do is pick colors that are kind of interesting. And there's some interesting ways that we can do this. We can actually use color palettes if we want to. I've got a yellow here. Let's try that for the sun first. So we need to go bucket fill. We need to go solid fill. Then we need to select our yellow again. And there we go. It worked nicely. I also want sky all the way around here. So let's do that. And so the colors for the sky are going to be, let's see. Why don't we go with oranges and reds? Or orange to red, kind of a blend. Let's see, a darker orange down below. And I'm just going to use the built-in color palette. I'll take this color right here, fill that in. Okay, and then this one here's got to be the same color. Be a little too dark, but that's okay. So I want a next brighter color, and I could just actually go like this, just move to the middle a little bit. Okay, just slightly. I maybe moved a little bit too much. Fill this in. Okay, maybe I didn't move enough. Let's go Control Z, undo that. I'm not sure I really like that color, but that's okay. You can get your colors to work better. Don't forget to fill up here. Okay, click again. I just want to go fairly quickly here. I think you're probably getting the idea. Okay, we got a problem there. Control Z, Z. So we got to fix that one. You can see I kind of curled it around again. So let's go, remember we have to go back to the correct layer. So go back here, we're going to select our lines layer. We could also do that over here as well. But I want to make sure I've got it in the right spot. So let's see, back over here. We need to go to pencil. We need to go to solid stroke. And we need to select black. And we can just give that, there we go. That's all it's going to take. Back to fills, back to bucket, back to solid fill, and let's try again. And we're good. Oh, I didn't draw the shadow in here. So we should go back and do that. And you're going to find that the same thing is probably going to happen when you're working on this. That's okay. Solid stroke. This is not going to take long. There we go. Back to fills. Back to bucket. Back to solid fill. There we go. That's done. I think we probably want to put black on the outside, that rim. Now, if we do that, though, watch what happens. If I select black, that's good. And then the whole thing goes black. This is kind of an interesting phenomenon. There's an easy fix for that. We're going to go back to lines, select lines, back to line. We're going to go back to solid stroke. I'm going to zoom in. I'm just going to put a line right here. And I'm going to put a line right here. Okay, and let's go back to bucket fill, solid, and there we go, and it works. Okay, don't ask me to explain that. I'm sure there's a logical explanation for it. We're on the right, we're on the lines layer. Good thing I noticed. Undo that. Go to your fills layer, bucket, solid fill. For that, in that case, it's the one example where it probably wouldn't have mattered, but let's just stay in the fills layer. That's the safest. Okay, we're going to go Control Spacebar so we have full screen. And, I blew it. That's okay. We'll just click there. And now let's do the colors. And I'm going to kind of pick our school colors, which is going to be shades of blue. I'll start with a dark blue down here. also forgot this one for this color. Now, an easy way to get those colors back, if you notice it, is to hover over top with the mouse and hit the E button, E for eyedropper. Select the color you want, and then we just click in here, and look at that, it fills it in with the correct color. And there's a tiny little section down here, which also needs to be that color. And I think, is that all of them? I think that's all of them. But while we're fixing stuff up, eyedropper, let's click here, fill that one in, and let's get this one. E for eyedropper. Save, and we're done. Now, the last thing we might want to do is render this thing out. So we go render, render image, and there is our finished graffiti. How about that? I feel like we should draw like a little smile or something, you know, but anyway, or sunglasses. Hey, that's what we should do there. All right, but I'm not going to do that. You can do that on your own if you want to. Finally, we go image, and we want to save. And if we save the image, it's going to ask us what we want. So I'm going to go graffiti, and I'm going to make this 04. And we can select either PNG or JPEG. I think I'll do JPEGs. Doesn't really matter. And save as image. And then you would upload that, and you're finished. That's it. Over and out.